Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 4th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. Inside of today's video, we're going to be talking about my thought process throughout the draft as I make all of my picks, as well as discussing some of the other picks going on around me throughout the draft. But before we get on into this video, I would like to ask, if you are new to my YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, please make sure that you hit that like button, whether you are new or not, to help me boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. And real quick, before we get on into the video, I would like to give you guys a word from the sponsor of this video, Owner's Box. Owner's Box is offering you guys a free entry into their $100,000 contest. Just go onto the website using the link in the description, sign up, and then go to the lobby to find the $100,000 NFL Week 1 contest. Then click up here where it says promo code and enter promo code DREW9 to get that free entry into the $100,000 contest. You can also win a free signed Drew Brees jersey up until Sunday, so make sure that you guys sign up now. This is a Superflex DFS website, the only one that does it like this. There's no defense, no kicker. It is all offense. You guys can see my roster on the right that I'm going to be entering. Quarterback Kirk Cousins. My running backs are Christian McCaffrey and Damian Harris. Wide receivers are Justin Jefferson and Marvin Jones. Tight end is Irv Smith. Our flexes are Tyler Boyd, Russell Gage, and our super flex is Joe Burrow. It is very easy to sign up. Only took me a couple of minutes to do. Only took me a little bit of time to enter this contest. So make sure you use promo code DREW9 when you enter, and you get a free entry into the $100,000 contest, as well as an entry into potentially winning a signed Drew Brees jersey. Make sure that you guys check it out. Link down below in the description, as well as in the pinned comment. And we are back. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. So without further ado, let's get on into it. Again, this is a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 4th overall spot. The roster positions go as follow: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. We're going to be drafting up against Yahoo's pre-draft rankings, so it's going to be a lot like we're actually drafting on Yahoo. So let's get on into the draft. Now, where we are drafting at the number 4 overall spot is definitely not one of my preferred positions. It's closer to the middle. I normally prefer to either pick right at the end of the draft, say pick 9, 10, 11, or 12, or I prefer to be one of the first picks of the draft. Now, the number 4 overall spot to me isn't the worst, but it is definitely not my most ideal draft spot. Let me know down below where your guys' preferred draft spot is in your 2021 fantasy football draft. So we begin the draft with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott. Very normal 1-2 punch to start off the draft with McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. At number 3, Ezekiel Elliott is a little bit strange, but not all that surprising, because Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook are the chalk 1-2 picks. But then after that, the door's kind of open for whoever you want to take. I've seen Kamara go there, Derrick Henry, I've seen Ezekiel Elliott go there. Sometimes I've even seen people take Travis Kelce this high. Would I do that? Probably not, or definitely not in my opinion. I think early on in the draft, if you're the first 4, 5, 6 picks, you should definitely be looking at running back to secure a workhorse running back early on in the draft, because by the time you come around on the swing in the 2nd round, you definitely will not like the running backs as much as you will at pick 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 picks in onto the draft. So we're up here, and to me, this is kind of a no-brainer selection. Now, I do understand that a lot of people do like Derrick Henry, and I agree. I like Derrick Henry a lot as well because of the immense amount of safety that comes with Derrick Henry. There's basically no risk in drafting Derrick Henry, but the upside is also limited. Unless he was to get an insane amount more of targets this season, it would be very, very hard for in a PPR format for Derrick Henry to be the number 1 overall running back, because he barely ever gets any dump-offs thrown his way. There's not going to be a chance that the Tennessee Titans try to set up some plays to get the ball into Derrick Henry's hands by throwing him the ball, but he also has the upside of rushing for like 2,000 fucking yards, so he's basically impossible to pass up on. But with Alvin Kamara still on the board, I will happily draft Alvin Kamara at this spot. I still am of the belief that famous Jameis Winston will be the starting quarterback of the team, and that will very much help out Alvin Kamara's production. Now, if Jameis Winston is not the guy and Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback, I probably would end up taking Derrick Henry at this spot, but based upon what we know right now, feel as though Jameis Winston is going to end up being the guy in 2021. So here we're going to go with Alvin Kamara, especially with Michael Thomas being hurt. I feel as though Alvin Kamara is going to be seeing an increased amount of target share in this offense, which was already very, very high, as they like to give him the ball a lot in these games. So after we went ahead and drafted Alvin Kamara, we see Derrick Henry come off the board, followed by a 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and Jonathan Taylor to close out the first round. Typically, inside the first round, you see anywhere from 2 to 4 non-running backs go inside the first round. This time we see 3, being all 3 wide receivers. The second round begins with the first tight end off the board in Travis Kelce, followed by Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, and Justin Jefferson. Inside of these mock drafts, Travis Kelce is typically one of the players that I really key onto in talking about, because it's very interesting to see where he goes in all these drafts. Sometimes you see Travis Kelce go as high as pick like 7 or 8, and other times he falls into the beginning part of the second round. Very interesting. Personally, in a 12-team league, I am not as excited to draft a tight end inside of the first round, because while the positional advantage is still just as high, I feel like in a 10, in an 8-team league, it is much more important versus in a 12-team league. But I'm fine taking Travis Kelce inside of the second round, just not something that I am overly looking to do inside of my draft. So looking at the second round, nothing really too out of the ordinary. The first round, again, very heavily dominated by running backs. The second round is when more wide receivers start to come off the board, and then in the third round, the ocean is open. Everyone is starting to draft wide receivers, typically in the third and the fourth round, and the running backs come a little bit more sparingly. So here at the 209, we are going to be looking either running back or wide receiver. We already took Alvin Kamara with our first pick, so if we don't like any of the running backs here, we could obviously just wait until the third round, because there's only 7 more picks until our next turn, and I'd still like a decent amount of these running backs: Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins. So there are 1, 2, or not really DeAndre Swift. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs I'm fine taking inside the third round. Darrell Henderson is definitely a reach inside of the third round, so I probably wouldn't go with him. So if Helaire is there, if Chris Carson is there, if Dobbins is there, I would definitely take any of those running backs inside of the third round. Right here in the second round, I think the only one I would be comfortable taking is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year was doing so fucking good until they brought in Le'Veon Bell, and then things went sideways for Mr. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Looking at wide receiver, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, a lot of wide receivers that I like, but I feel as though the running back room here is a lot less deep at this point in the draft. So here we are going to end up going running back and going with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know a lot of people don't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire this season because he burnt them last year. People had such high hopes for Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year, and he didn't end up panning out. Now, does that mean he can't pan out in 2021? No. The reason why you didn't like him last year, because he kind of failed you, is because we put way too high expectations on Helaire in his rookie season, and he was doing good without Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell now gone. I'm pretty confident in drafting Mr. CEH here inside of the second round. So after we went ahead and drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we see A.J. Brown come off the board, DK Metcalf, Darren Waller, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and Keenan Allen. Very interesting that not a single running back was taken in that stretch of picks, all wide receivers, but who knows? If we didn't take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe one of those people would have taken Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it is a-okay. Darren Waller going at the 212. He is also an interesting player that I typically follow in these drafts. Normally, Waller goes anywhere from the end of the second round to the early third round. I think Darren Waller is one of the only tight ends that can rival Travis Kelce for being the tight end 1 in fantasy football. DK Metcalf going at the 211. To me, DK Metcalf is being reached upon relatively heavily in these drafts. I think the Seattle Seahawks team are going to look to run the ball more this season, and in turn, that will definitely hurt DK Metcalf's value. I really like Terry McLaurin here inside the third round. I like all of these wide receivers right here: Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and Keenan Allen, all on teams that I expect to be pretty solid this year. And I think Allen Robinson's definitely going to be seeing a huge boost once Justin Fields ends up being the signal caller there. Whether that's a couple weeks into the season or closer to the end of the season, I'm not really too sure. Maybe he starts week 1, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I highly doubt that. So looking at the wide receivers available here, we could obviously go running back, but at this point, I'd much rather go wide receiver because I like a lot of these wide receivers that I believe could finish inside of the top 12, those being CeeDee Lamb and Robert Woods. I think that Robert Woods is definitely a very interesting pick this season. Once they added Matthew Stafford to the team via that trade, they kicked Jared Goff out of town. They bring in Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford's going to be able to take this offense to the next level, but CeeDee Lamb, now Dak Prescott should be healthy for week 1. But I want you guys to monitor this situation because originally they've been talking about how Dak Prescott's going to be able to play in one of these preseason games. Maybe it wasn't going to be this weekend, but maybe next weekend he's going to be able to play in preseason. And then things came out yesterday, earlier today, as you guys are watching this, that, hey, maybe Dak Prescott won't be able to play. They're going to hold him out until the regular season, which is a bit worrisome. But if Dak is healthy with how shit this defense is in Dallas, CeeDee Lamb probably has top 5 potential for fantasy football in 2021. So I'll happily take him here inside of the 3rd round. We are about 10-ish minutes into this video, so if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that like button as well. So after we went ahead and drafted CeeDee Lamb, we can see that Patrick Mahomes came off the board, followed by Chris Carson, George Kittle, Timbers, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Josh Allen. Closing out the 3rd round, the 4th round opens with Darrell Henderson, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore, Julio Jones, and DeAndre Swift. So the 3rd round was very wide receiver heavy. The 4th round right now also very wide receiver heavy. Like I said, people early on in the draft in the first 2 rounds really like to hammer on the running back position because the chance that a 1st or 2nd round running back is a bust is much, much lower than once you get into the 3rd and 4th round. And then after the 3rd and 4th round, typically the chance that that running back is successful goes down even more after the 3rd and 4th rounds. So that's why you see a lot of running backs go in the first 4 rounds, and the first 2 rounds definitely is where you see most of the running backs come off of the board in a huge chain right here at the beginning of the draft. We saw 8 running backs come off the board in a row, which is something I don't even disagree with. So looking at the board right now, our team, we have Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and CeeDee Lamb already on the team. So we're probably going to look to go either running back or wide receiver at this turn. Now, we will be 7 picks away from picking again. So let's go ahead and look at the draft board. How many running backs do each? Now, all of these teams going after us only have 1 running back apiece, which means that it is very likely that each of these teams take at least 1 running back in this pocket of 6 picks, which means if we want a running back, if we like one of these running backs, the odds that if we take a wide receiver here, that one will fall to us inside of the 5th round, meaning a running back, is going to be significantly lower. So we're going to have to look at the running backs here, see if I want any of them, and if I don't, then we can go ahead and wait. So Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Mike Davis, Travis Etienne, Kareem Hunt, and Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin, a lot of people are worried about a complete split share, a committee in Miami. I am personally not very nervous about that at all. As a Miami Dolphins fan, I think we should not overreact to week 1 of preseason. You should not do that. Don't do that. So you can go ahead and be a little bit nervous about Myles Gaskin, but don't completely run away from him yet. I think this weekend we will see more of this split share, and if it keeps being very evident, then maybe I'll backtrack my statement and be a little bit more worried about Myles Gaskin. So right here, I don't like Miles Sanders. Josh Jacobs in the 4th round to me is one of the dumbest fucking picks you can make. Mike Davis I like, but inside the 4th round, I'd rather take the gamble and hope he falls to me in the 5th round. So here, we are going to go wide receiver. Wide receiver still available. Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Titty Boy T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Kenny Galladay, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, Mr. Corvette, Chase Claypool as well. So looking at the wide receiver position here, there are also some quarterbacks available, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, which I wouldn't hate taking in the 4th or the 5th round. Again, am I normally someone that reaches up and takes a quarterback early? Definitely not, but in the 5th round-ish, in that range, I am fine taking a quarterback. But right here, to me, I have my sights locked in on 1 wide receiver, and that is Deontay Johnson. Now, I know that Deontay Johnson is a very polarizing player in fantasy football. Either you are with me, you are standing in the Deontay Johnson hype circle that I am in, and you believe that Deontay Johnson is going to fix his, dropsies, the case of the drops that he had last season, or you're in the opposite standpoint. You think, hey, Deontay Johnson fucking sucks. He's going to drop the ball. He's going to get benched, and he's going to do nothing. So you're either one way or the other. My belief is that he fixed the drops. He's going to be the #1 targeted wide receiver on this Pittsburgh Steelers team. They are still a team that is going to be airing the ball out a ton, so I'm going with Deontay Johnson. Maybe if you want to be a little bit less risky. I don't even believe Deontay Johnson is a risk, but some may, and I like to talk about early on in drafts to be very, very risk averse. If I look at my roster right now with Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CeeDee Lamb, I don't really see too much risk on that roster, but after the 4th round, that's when I like to get a little bit more risky, because you can't win your draft in the first couple of rounds, but you certainly can completely fuck your team up and lose the draft. So here, inside the 4th round, I don't believe Deontay Johnson's a risk, so we're going to go with him. If you want to be a little bit safer, you can go with Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings. I think he's going a little bit under the wire, maybe under the rug. I don't even know what word to use there, but he's going under the radar. That's the R word I was looking to use here. Under the radar is what Adam Thielen is going with right now. I think Adam Thielen's going to be a solid player in Minnesota this year, but we are going to lean with my boy Deontay Johnson with that top 12 potential inside of the 4th round. So after we went ahead and went with Mr. Deontay Johnson, we see Miles Sanders come off the board, followed by Josh Jacobs, Brandon Ayuk, Lamar Jackson, TJ Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen. Definitely would have considered TJ Hawkinson inside of the 5th round, as I believe that TJ Hawkinson does have top 3 potential at the tight end position. Very nice seeing him be the tight end #4 off the board. That is exactly where I would be selecting TJ Hawkinson. So we are back up on the board right now, and I am definitely going to be looking running back at this spot, because I think after the Mike Davis, the Kareem Hunt, the Myles Gaskin, that things start to get extremely dicey. Now, do I like running backs in this range? 100%. I like Damian Harris. I like Michael Carter. I like Raheem Mostert. I think Ronald Jones is fine. But after this, the safety really goes out the window. I don't even think you should be including Myles Gaskin in this maybe right now if you're a little bit more nervous. So Kareem Hunt, Mike Davis to me are the safest options here. I love Mike Davis inside of the 5th round. If you guys have been watching my mock drafts for a while now, I take him basically every single time in the 5th round. A lot of people were dick riding Todd Gurley last season, thinking Todd Gurley was going to take them to the championship in the 3rd and the 4th round. They were drafting him because of what an Atlanta Falcons running back is. Matt Ryan in the past has been very prone to dumping the ball off to a running back. You could see it with Devontae Freeman in the past, and last year, obviously, things with Todd Gurley didn't work out because of his knee arthritis that you could have seen coming from a mile away. Mike Davis not coming into the season with any type of injury worry. I believe Mike Davis is going to be dominant in this backfield. I understand the risk is that he's probably just an older player. That is really the only downside I see to him, but I think he's going to be A-okay in Atlanta, just like he was last year in Carolina when he took over for Run CMC. The other argument I've seen against Mike Davis is that you didn't even know who Mike Davis was last year because he was behind Christian McCaffrey. Guess what? No one gives a fuck who the running back is behind Christian McCaffrey. I know it's Chuba Hubbard right now, but no one's drafting him thinking he's going to get any work when McCaffrey is healthy. It's a similar thing with Mike Davis last year and Christian McCaffrey. So I think that Mike Davis is definitely going to have a great season this year because there's really no competition behind him. After Mike Davis, we see T. Higgins, Mark Andrews, Robbie Anderson, Travis Etienne, Damian Harris, Kareem Hunt, Kyle Pitts, Chase Claypool, Jamar Chase, Kyler Murray, Robert Tonyan, Dickie Dak Prescott, Tyler Higbee, Odell Beckham Jr., Russell Wilson, and Tyler, Boyd going inside the 6th round. Definitely a little bit early for Tyler Boyd. Very surprised to see Russell Wilson go that close to Dak and Kyler Murray. I'm definitely staying away to taking a quarterback near these guys because I feel as though they're definitely are very much a step above a guy like Russell Wilson. So we're back up on the board here. 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers through our first 5 picks. And here we're definitely going to lean with the wide receiver position. The quarterbacks, again, not looking to take anyone near there. Tight ends, I don't really love these tight ends. I think you're either on board early on for tight end or you should wait till much later. I think taking one of these middling tight ends is a kind of a risky maneuver. So here we're going to go ahead and go with a wide receiver. Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, all still available. So clicking on Kenny Golladay right now, I believe he is still injured, expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks. That's from 2 weeks ago, so maybe he will be back in practice this weekend. Maybe not, probably not, right? He'll probably be back by next week, but if he's not back by next week, right? If he's not healthy, then there are more questions concerning Kenny Golladay, then you throw the fade mark onto him, where you just avoid him because the injury is cutting it very, very close to week 1. But if he's fine next week, then I'm not really all that worried at all. So based upon what we know right now, I would say I would not be too worried about Kenny Golladay, and I do believe he could easily be a top 20-ish wide receiver in fantasy football, even on a Giants team that I believe is probably not going to be very good. So after we went with Golladay, came Tom Brady, Jerry Jeudy, Trey Sermon, Cortland Sutton, Justin Herbert, the pervert, and Juju Smith-Schuster. So we're back up on the board here. 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a very balanced approach early on to our draft. Looking at running back here, inside of the 7th round, to me, you can't pass on Myles Gaskin. I understand the risk of the 3 running back committee that is allegedly here. Allegedly. I don't believe that it's really going to be here. I think Salvon Ahmed will be used. I think Malcolm Brown, they're going to talk him up to having this goal line role. Goal line roll. Did you guys see him in the preseason game? This motherfucker can't get in. He is a goal line running back, but he's ineffective at it. So I'm not really too worried about Myles Gaskin. And in the 7th round, you're getting a huge discount for a running back that maybe not week 1, right? Maybe week 1, week 2, they're still fucking with this experiment. They're thinking, hey, Malcolm Brown, they're going to try to use him, all this. We saw what happened last year. Jordan Howard, Matt Breida. We saw how bad they were, and we saw how much better Myles Gaskin was from them. Jordan Howard and Matt Breida are much better running backs, in my opinion, than at least Malcolm Brown. Maybe not Salvon Ahmed, but I really do believe that this is Myles Gaskin's backfield, so I don't really see any need to be worried. After Myles Gaskin, we see Deebo Samuel, Antonio Brown, Aaron Rodgers, Brandon Cooks, Chase Edmonds, Javonte Williams, James Robinson, DJ Chark to close out the 7th round. 8th round begins with Melvin Gordon, Raheem Mostert, Uncle Lenny Fournette, Will Fuller, Michael Gallup, AJ Dillon, Laviska Shenault, and Mike Williams. So we're back up on the board here inside of the 8th round. I like Rodgers inside of the 7th round, but again, it is very close to those other quarterbacks, so I'm not really looking to be doing that. So here we're probably going to go either running back or wide receiver. Again, typically, if I don't get one of those elite quarterbacks, or maybe Rodgers doesn't fall my way inside the 8th or 9th round, I'm probably just going to continue to wait on here. Looking at the draft board, how many teams have a quarterback right now? Is this going to show it? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 teams out of these 12 have a quarterback already. Me, Herd Immunity, and Pits of Despair do not have a quarterback, so I'm probably pretty good to continue on waiting in the draft. So here we are definitely going to be looking running back or wide receiver, like I said. Running backs, Michael Carter, Ronald Jones, David Johnson, James Conner. Wide receivers, Devontae Smith, Jarvis Landry, Curtis Samuel, Corey Davis, Michael Thomas. Now, I think that if I don't take Michael Carter here, he is going to be taken. And he is a running back that I have really talked about ad nauseum on my channel, being a running back that I believe could be a league winner. So here, when it goes Michael Thomas, he's definitely going to be behind Ty Johnson, behind Tevin Coleman at the beginning of the season, but all reports out of camp are that this guy is the best running back for the team, and I believe that without even seeing the reports, because just looking at the team's roster, these guys are all career backups. They're second running backs on the depth chart, third running backs on the depth chart, whereas I believe Michael Carter has enough skill to be able to elevate himself past those bums and become the starting running back on the team. So looking at the board here, after I went with Michael Carter, Devontae Smith came off the board, followed by Ronald Jones, James Conner, Gus Bus Edwards, Jamal Williams, and Curtis Samuel. So had I have waited, he definitely would have went in this bunch of running backs. Sadly, Devontae Smith did come off the board. Devontae Smith has been falling down drafts with that injury, which obviously is not the best when a guy gets hurt in preseason, but it could be much worse, and he could have gotten hurt during the season. So if there's signs of him being okay, just like with Kenny Golladay, I think he's definitely worth an 8th round pick. So here we are inside of the 8th round. Jarvis Landry is one of those picks that is very, very safe, but to me, when you're in the 9th round, why are you looking to draft safety? You already have wide receivers that you believe are going to be good, right? You've already drafted CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Golladay. You already have these other wide receivers that you believe are going to be good, so why are you trying to wrap another safety blanket onto your team? Jarvis Landry, unless Odell was to get hurt, really doesn't have, and even if Odell was to get hurt, right? Doesn't really have 15, 16, 17 point per game potential. He's going to get 10 points every single game. And sure, that's fine and dandy, but you don't really win your league by having players on your team that get you 10 fucking points a week. You're trying to hunt for that upside. You're trying to get a Corey Davis who could potentially be the wide receiver 1 in New York for the Jets. You're trying to get a Darnell Mooney in this nice role in Chicago as the number 2 guy. You're trying to get the Marvin Jones who could potentially be the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. You're trying to get the Michael Pittman Jr., who, while I am not on board with, I can understand the argument. He could be the wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis. You're trying to get the Hollywood Brown, another player who I fucking hate, but could be the number 1 guy there. So I do understand the arguments for these other players. I don't get it for drafting a guy like Jarvis Landry. I even understand drafting Michael Thomas here because you put him on your IR, and then maybe, just maybe, a couple weeks into the season, maybe not a couple, right? That's a little early, but 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks into the season, halfway through, you throw this guy in your lineup, and he's a top 12 wide receiver. So I understand that value. There's definitely a lot of risk, though, because we know Michael Thomas is kind of a dumbass. He's a grade A crybaby. He just got surgery in the offseason to say basically fuck you to the Saints. Should have gotten surgery earlier on in the offseason. So I don't really know what to think about Michael Thomas. I'm fine drafting him here, but I'm going to lean with Marvin Jones, who looks like he may be the best wide receiver in Jacksonville. And it's funny that we are all underestimating Jones this year. Written by Mike Tagliere. Mike, you silly fucking goose. I've been talking up Marvin Jones all offseason. I don't know how people are so blind to see how good Marvin Jones is. He's done it for years in Detroit. You better believe he could easily be the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. I do not understand how apparently no one's been talking about him. I've been talking about this man for like a year, not even really a year, right? But I've been talking about him for ever since the season ended last year, and he moved on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going to go ahead and move myself to the left and shrink myself down a little bit so that you guys can see the draft board a little bit better, because later on we get into the draft, the more I get into the way. So hopefully you guys don't mind me being smaller. I'm sure you don't give a fuck at all, because I got a face for radio, as they say. After Marvin Jones, we see Jarvis Landry, followed by Darnell Mooney, Hollywood Brown, Jalen Hurts, Corey Davis, Zach Moss, Kenyon Drake, Michael Pittman. Then the 10th round begins with Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, McCole Hardman, Elijah Moore. Very interesting pick. I like him as well. David Johnson, Naheem Hines, Alexander Madison, and Jalen waddled away, waddle, to the very next day. Bum, 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 bada, bum. And we're back up here. Tight ends still looking pretty solid, so I think we can wait. Looking at the draft board, let's look at everyone's team real quick. By roster. This is one of the sickest things that Fantasy Pros has. I wish a lot more websites have this. The other website that has this is Yahoo, so I wish other websites would add it. So let's see. 1, 2, 3 teams, or 4 teams total. 3 teams besides myself don't have tight end. 1 other team doesn't have a quarterback, so I think we're fine to wait because, again, I'm not in love with drafting a Noah Fant, Logan Thomas. I mean, I do like Dallas Goedert, but Zach Ertz is still there, which does suck. But here where we are sitting, I don't really love any of these running backs, so I think I'm fine here. Just taking the potential risk on Michael Thomas and assuming maybe he comes back. Maybe you think this is a stupid pick. Let me know what you guys are doing with Michael Thomas. Are you fine taking him in the 10th round, or do you think it's a waste of a draft spot? Because if your league has an IR spot, he's definitely much more worth it, because after the draft, you just throw him in your IR spot and instantly pick up another wide receiver, running back, whatever you want, and then you just, use them. And then Michael Thomas will eventually come up into your lineup, so I think it's even more worth it in a league with an IR spot. So I'm fine taking him, but I definitely do understand that he is a very risky pick here in the 11th round, but who isn't, right? Like, who isn't a super risky pick? Maybe these quarterbacks. So after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Michael Thomas, we can see that Devontae Parker came off the board, followed by the LA Rams defense, Washington football team, Jacoby Myers, Cole Beasley, and Logan Thomas. So here we're going to go ahead and go to the quarterback position. Tannehill, Stafford, Burrow, in a tier together. In my eyes, you could really go with any of those quarterbacks. Let me know down below who you prefer, Tannehill, Matthew Stafford, or Joe Burrow. Let me know. I personally will lean Stafford. I like Tannehill too. I like Burrow too. They're so close in my head. Like, if you look at my rankings, I don't even know who's ranked ahead of each other, because in my head, it switches every day, right? Because they're just that close. It's basically a fucking coin flip, but if the coin had 3 sides. Like, it's a dice roll, there's only 3 sides of the dice. It's one of those triangle dices, even though I think those have 4 things. Is there a dice that just has 3 sides? I don't know. I do not know, but I mean, maybe it's a wheel where it's like a pie chart, like one of those spinny things, a wheel. like the Wheel of Fortune type deal, but only has 3 spots. That's what I would be spinning here. You could really go either way. Here we're to go with Tannehill, but again, I won't argue with you. If you want to take Burrow, if you want to take Stafford, to me, they are so identical. So after we went ahead and went with Stafford, now we definitely, or went with Ryan Tannehill, I should say, we definitely have to go ahead and get a tight end, and I'm very disappointed because I think Irv Smith came off the board, and that makes me very sad in the pants. So after we went with Ryan Tannehill, Goddard came off the board, followed by Pittsburgh Steelers, 49ers defense, Matthew Snapback, Noah Fant, Latavius Murray, Baltimore Ravens, Henry Ruggs, J.D. McKissick, T.Y. Hilton, thank you, Hilton, Irv Smith, Rashad Penny, Phillip Lindsay, Sterling Shepard, Jalen Reagor, and Malcolm Brown. Very interesting that Irv Smith came off the board. He is the late round tight end I normally target, but here I'm fine taking Mike Gesicki as he looks very good in training camp for the Dolphins. I pay very close attention to training camp for the Dolphins. Gesicki has been looking very good, especially in this practice that they have been doing, one of those, I don't even know what they're called, team versus team practice, or the co-practice, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's the Dolphins and the Falcons practicing together. He has looked pretty solid in that. So here we are, final pick of the draft before we go with our defense and our kicker, and we probably aren't going to go defense and kicker because I advise that if you are doing your draft, basically if you're doing your draft anytime between now and Labor Day, like after training camp is over, after preseason is over, then you don't have to do this. You can draft your kicker and you can draft your defense, but right here, I'm probably going to draft an extra running back, an extra wide receiver, or just 2 extra running backs because injuries happen in preseason, they happen in training camp, and you don't really need that defense or kicker. You can just pick them up right before week 1 starts. So here we're going to go ahead and pick up some players. We're going to first go with Salvon Ahmed. Did we get Myles Gaskin on our team? We did, so maybe we don't want to necessarily handcuff here, but we realistically could. No one else here that really excites me. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson, but I don't think he's going to have a role in this offense unless we were to see Damien Harris go down, but maybe he's more involved than I think. So maybe right now, with some question marks, you take him. But again, I do think Damien Harris is going to be that guy. But with the other running backs that are available, I think it's a fine guess to go ahead and draft him. And then we're going to go ahead and draft Kenneth Gainwell, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not too sure if he's going to be the 2 or if Boston Scott is going to be the 2. That is something to monitor in preseason and training camp as we get closer to the season. So make sure that you are monitoring that. We don't need a backup quarterback or tight end, especially if I'm comfortable with the quarterback and tight end that I have, which I am. So looking at the draft board now, after we went ahead and made those selections, we see Boston Scott, Rashad Bateman come off the board, Baker Mayfield, third leg Greg Zuerlein, and Jason Sanders, followed by Robbie Gould. And we are back up again here to make our final pick of the draft. And we are going to go ahead and draft either a running back or a wide receiver. I think we're going to go high upside wide receiver. I used to like John Brown, but it appears that maybe he's not going to be as involved as I thought, which is a yikes. Very big yikes. But maybe he will be involved. I don't know. Again, don't overreact to just 1 week of preseason. Maybe that's what I am doing here. So I think I'm still fine taking John Brown, but I do understand that maybe he won't see as much time on the field as I previously believed. So now our draft is complete. We didn't draft the defense or a kicker, so I bet you the draft tells us to go fuck ourselves. No, it actually doesn't. It understands what we are doing here, and we get an A, 96 overall. Very nice, as Borat would say. So our quarterback is Ryan Tannehill. Our running backs are Alvin Kamara and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Our wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb and Deontay Johnson. Tight end, Mike Licky, Mike Gesicki, flex, Mike Davis. Bench is comprised of Kenny Galladay, Myles Gaskin, Michael Carter, Marvin Jones Jr., Michael Thomas, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Gainwell, and JB, John Bizzle, John Brown, 96 out of 100. Thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Make sure that you check out Owner Box, link down below in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Please make sure that you check that out. Sign up for free. Get that free entry into that contest. Potentially win that Drew Brees jersey. It would be very nice if one of you guys ended up winning. That would be sick. So let me know down below in the comment section if you entered. I would really appreciate it if you did. I love all you guys. Make sure that you stay safe. We are so close to 15,000 subscribers. We may hit it today. I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything you have given me. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe as always. Goodbye.